Peace and prosperity. This is Asaya Mystic coming to you guys with another message to help you free your heart and soul. Right now, we are talking about why you should never get a DNA test. Now, this is a topic that has come up on various occasions in my life, talking to friends. When it comes to understanding your ancestry, right? And so every time people bring up how they've gotten their ancestry done, they always tell me this information about how, basically they have all these different genes, or these different, they're basically like they're linked to all these different regions of the world. Now, the reason that certain people should not get an ancestry test, specifically Afro-American people, is largely why I tell people don't ever get an ancestry or a DNA test done, because the reason why this whole DNA test and ancestry stuff was even created was really just to keep people more confused about who they are, where they come from, and really just the truth, behind the scenes truth, right? So the reality is, and I mentioned this before, is that we are not all the same people. We don't all have the same source. We don't all have the same soul energy, and ancestrally we don't all evolve from the same line of genes. Now, to make this make a little bit more sense, why Afro-Indigenous people, Afro-American people should not get Ancestry.com and the DNA test, these DNA tests done, is because the genes of the average Afro-American person are the primordial genes of the planet. So if you watch and you learn and you go into different, scientific theories and synopsises about like pretty much who was the primary people on the planet Earth hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you will understand and you will know that it was the Afro being who was pretty much here first and who evolved from the earth first. So a lot of people get mad and feel salty in this day and age because everybody wants to be one being and one unity and all that great stuff, which is great, and I am all for unity and I am all about unity. My whole lifestyle encompasses and embodies the fact that we are all one being. However, we cannot be one being and we cannot be unified if we do not honor and uplift the parts that make up the whole. So it's like almost like today people are striving for oneness while denying the uniqueness of the individual, and you can't do that. That's like pretty much impossible. So if you really want unity in this new era of love, peace, justice, and harmony that we're moving into, you really gotta start calling a spade, calling stuff for what it is, so that you can move forward and change in the ways that you need to. So in this case, let's acknowledge that the Afro-Indigenous being is the primordial being of the planet Earth. It is not the Asian, it is not the Dravidian, it's not the Caucasoid, it's not none of those things. And you don't need to get all emotional and sensitive when I bring this up and start talking about the differences that we have, because they're real, they exist. So the Afro-Indigenous being is the primary gene of the planet. So what happens is when the person who is of Afro-Indigenous lineage decides to get their ancestry done, what's going to happen is they're going to draw you back to all of these places and all of these spheres of the world that you're linked to genetically, right? And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm from Kenya. I have some stuff in Europe. I got some stuff here. I got some stuff there. You know, really anywhere. And the gag is your genes that they're using, that they're linking you back to all of these places. It's not that you got your genes from these places, but these places got their genetics from you. Because outside of the Afro-Indigenous being, there are other beings that came onto this planet post the Afro being, right? Post the evolution of the primordial being. And I talk about this in my We Are Primordial Beings of the Earth video, going more in depth into, you know, what a primordial being is and the energy that comes with being one of the descendants from the people who evolved directly from the earth. Now, when other beings came here to this planet, which I delved into in my Eve Gene Part 2 video, so make sure you go watch that, is that there are other beings that came here after the Afro-Indigenous being, and for them to come here and to live here and to thrive here, they had to have a body. They had to have their own bodies. However, their bodies were and are different than the Afro-Indigenous being, but they are still of the same genetic code of the Afro-Indigenous being, because what happens is they take the genes of the beings that are already here and they begin to create what I talked about in the previous video. We Are the Eve Gene Part 2. They begin to create clones. So the word clone is kind of creepy and weird sounding, and that's because it kind of is, you know. It's like you're literally creating this other being that's not necessarily like naturally derived like the Afro-Indigenous being, like the primordial being, but it's still derived and it still exists, right? So you have these clone beings, you have this clone phenotype that you begin to create based off of these different genes that you find in the primordial being. So this is where we have different races of beings kind of spurring from. You have different races of beings who have, like, I mean, very, 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 very similar looks, features. I mean, you look very similar. Everybody looks very similar. Whereas the primordial gene is diverse. I mean, you pretty much, it's very, very diverse. You have super, super white, and then you have super, super dark. You have all kinds of phenotypes, and then you get to different races of people, and the genes start to begin to be less diverse and more similar. So I'm just gonna let you guys know what some of these races of, you know, clones or these different phenotypes are. So post Afro-Indigenous, post primordial being of the Mongoloid being, you have the Dravidian being, you have the Caucasian being, you have the Persian being, which people don't talk about this one that much for whatever reason, but you have the Persian being. Then you have the, I think I named them all. So you have Mongoloid, Dravidian, Persian, and Caucasian. yeah, these are the cloned energies, right? So I know you guys are like, well, there are also a lot of other beings that have existed on this planet. I would not call them clone beings, but I would definitely call them indigenous primordial celestial beings. Like right now I'm thinking of, the Aborigines in Australia that have gone, I wouldn't even say they've gone extinct, I don't know, but from what I do know and have heard is that they pretty much were wiped out. In Hawaii, the primordial and indigenous being there mixed in a lot with the celestial, and there are a lot of celestial energies in like the Pacific Islands, and then there's a lot of mongoloid energy there. Like, so then when we get to like Mexico, there is a lot of clone energy as well as indigenous energy mixed in with the Persian and the Caucasoid influence. So that's why like a lot of Mexicans, when they get their ancestry done, they have like a lot like things tracing them back to like Persian, and when I say Persian is like, the Middle East people that you find, I don't even know what their, I know the religious names, like the Islamic and the people who be at the gas stations, who own all the gas stations and the corner stores, them. So anyway, this is the pretty much how this works when it comes to the Ancestry.com, and I really hope you guys followed me through that, because I pretty much swam through my brain just now. But basically, when an Afro-Indigenous person gets their ancestry done, it's not accurate, because basically everybody got their genes from you in the first place. So that is why I encourage Afro-Indigenous beings to never get their ancestry done and to always get their genealogy done, because their genealogy is going to link them back to their indigenous roots, their indigenous tribe, and it's going to get them access to a whirlwind of benefits, a whirlwind of respect when it comes to the system and you're operating within the system. Because let me tell you, when you're operating in the system as a black person who's identifying as all of these different races, they're not gonna they already don't really respect us, but they don't respect you even more when you don't know who you are and you don't know where you came from, and you can't pinpoint yourself back to your tribe and your real genealogy. So that's another video I might do after this video, is talk about with you guys the House of Gene, which is the ancient house that rules over all of the genes of this entire planet. Always get your genealogy done. Now, for anybody who is not Afro-Indigenous and you want to get your ancestry done, cool, do that. I mean, really, anybody can get their genealogy done and anybody can get their ancestry done. I just hate it when people get their ancestry done and they don't understand the truth behind genetics and the truth behind race and the truth behind where you really come from. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the Ancestry, I keep saying Ancestry.com, I don't even know if that's the source, but these DNA tests, I feel like these DNA tests, they're just here to confuse you and here to lie to you even more about how amazingly powerful you are and how you are so much more than your race and your background, but your genetics and your genealogy is really where the power is and where the power lies. Okay, guys, well, that's pretty much all I had to share with you all on DNA tests and genealogy. Yeah, so definitely get your genealogy done. Please stop getting a DNA test. Understand the way that these races work, and you know, I just stop identifying with race and these clone races, and stop identifying with race and get your genealogy done. Get to the source, get to the root, get to the truth, right? And so even if you you okay? Even if you do come from, or you did get your DNA test done and you're getting results that tell you that you're X, Y, and Z, like, go deeper. I'm encouraging you to go deeper. Don't accept any of that stuff for face value, because we're living in a system currently that is, based on lies. So if you want things to change and you want things to be more based on truth, and for truth to be your pillar in life, definitely live by that motto. You showing them your tattoo? That's your tattoo. And yeah. So say bye-bye, Oleva. Say we're gonna see you all in the next video. Okay? Say bye-bye.